animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
A mere 8 feet from us is the largest predator in Africa. The male lion. There's not one, but 3. This is Safari Live.
Confirm you're going live.
No way! The big male baboon's chasing her. Remember, you are watching this live.
What did you see?
We've got to be quite careful with these guys.
Unfortunately, I think this is the end.
You have your fire!
Look at the nose!
There's a herd of zebra.
This is the most epic thing in the world, ever. Good morning, good morning. Once again, you find yourself suspended above Africa on the 4th of 8 live safaris brought to you from one of the world's most iconic wildlife areas. Dawn has brought with it grey skies and slices of golden sunshine. It's 76 degrees Fahrenheit. My name is James Hendry, and I'm hanging in a tree. Why am I hanging in a tree? Well, because I like to hang in a tree, and I'm going to be talking to you from the safari tent for the next 2 hours. You're going to talk to me via Twitter, #SafariLive. Now, I must apologise on behalf of the South African Postal Service. They have been dysfunctional for 5 years, so please do not send letters or postcards. #SafariLive on Twitter is the only way you may get hold of us. Let's look at where we are in the world. We are at the southern tip of Africa, the northeast corner of South Africa, and the western fringes of the great Kruger National Park, 8.5 million acres of untrammeled wildlife wilderness. I have magicked myself back into the tent. Last week we spent a wonderful time with the Prince and Princess, Hosana and Xongile. They were cavorting around in the mud and climbing trees. We had an awkward time with a male lion who was, well, not to put too fine a point on it, tried to get it on with the female lioness, who had no desire at all and swatted him mercilessly with her claws. Stef, who was out on foot, took a bath. We've met Brent today. He's with the lions. Stef is knocking about here somewhere. I think he's looking for elephants. And Jamie Patterson has refound the royal family.
Good morning and welcome to another bright and beautiful dawn out here in the middle of the wilds of Africa. And what a spectacular start once again to this, the 4th of our live safari experience. My name is Jamie, and this morning VM is on camera with me, and we have started off our morning in the best possible way, because believe it or not, in the tree that is directly behind me, it holds a very special secret in the form of this spotted cat laying up in the branches of this bush willow. Now, last week you had the opportunity to once again follow the amazing games of the royal family, those 2 special little cubs, Hosana and Xongile. What you were looking at earlier was a relatively recently deceased impala, and in the tree lies the reason behind the deceased impala. Now, this is little Hosana, or Little Chief, or Little Prince, as he is known. And for those of you that perhaps are new to these live safari experiences, he is just 2 weeks shy of his 1st birthday, and he's all alone. Mom has managed to catch an impala, and Mom being, of course, the famous Queen of Djuma, Karula, that beautiful female leopard, and she's brought him through, but he's all alone. So where is Mom? I think that the Queen of Djuma has gone off in search of her errant daughter, Xongile, who we were with yesterday afternoon, hanging out in a marula tree. Hopefully, if we sit patiently and wait, we shall see the return and reunion, and then hopefully the breakfasting of the royal family. But while we wait patiently, let's head back over to Brent and those magnificent male lions.
And look at this, isn't this absolutely glorious? Last week we only got to meet one of the Birmingham Boys, and on this live safari now we get to meet 3 of the dominant male lions in our little corner of the greater Kruger National Park, an 8.5 million acre wilderness wonderland that we get to call home. Now, my name is Brent Leo Smith. I have my very good friend on camera, Brian Joubert, and we are the Killer Bees. And that means we hope to find you the best and most killer sightings. But also, Brian is helped ably by his very hard-working thumb, who got a bit confused this morning and put on a leopard print tie, and he probably should have put on a lion mane. Of course, this is live, so we never know what we're going to find out here. And lucky enough, we're with the beautiful Birmingham Boys, and Jamie is with those incredible leopards. Isn't this just too amazing? Now, this is coming to you at the exact same time as we are seeing it. This is live from South Africa. And remember, if you want to ask us any questions, hashtag Safari Live. I would love to hear from you. So please send those questions through. Now, if you have been watching for the past, 4 weeks now, we're in the middle of your 8-week weekly dose of live African wildlife. We've only seen one of the Birmingham Boys, and that's the one who's in frame at the moment. His name is Mfumo, which means the authority. And you can see he's got quite a nasty scar on his schnoz. And that is probably from fighting with one of his other coalition members, or from attempting to be amorous with a lioness who wasn't so amorous back. And that's what happened last week. And there, the next lion along there is called Tinyo, the tooth. And you can just see a scar on the top of his cheek there. And that was definitely from a lioness who wasn't feeling that amorous. And she split his lip, and you can see his tooth when he's sitting up. And then the third lion, which is quite exciting for me, is not one I get to see too often. And it looks like it is Nena. Nena means the warrior. Prides. Now, Chelsea's asked a very important question, because as you would have noticed, I am sitting incredibly close to these massive male lions. Chelsea would like to know, what is the limit to how close we go to the big cats? Now, Chelsea, these big cats have grown up with safari vehicles, so they are habituated. They don't see us human beings sitting in there. But this is about my limits. I'm never going to push further than that. But the wonderful thing about being out here is that the lions don't have any limits. So sometimes I've had them walking right here that I could actually almost touch them if I wanted to. And if the animals choose to come close to us, we let them. We don't force ourselves into their space. Now, of course, you've met James, you've met Jamie, and you've met me and Brian. But there's one more person you need to meet, and he's probably the bravest of us all, because he's out here where all these incredible creatures live, except he's on foot. Let's go meet Stef.
Thank you. Well, good morning. Yes, my name is Stef and you are on Bushwalk out here at Djuma Private Game Reserve, in exactly the same place that Brent and Jamie are driving around on. Now, for those of you who have joined us for the previous 3, this is the 4th of the Bushwalk in this 8-part series. And as you know, it's not always just about the big things like those lion and leopard. It's also a lot about the bush that they live in, and also the tinier things in this particular region. And I've got something quite special to show you this morning, just right in the beginning. Inside there, inside that hole, is a nest of the African honeybee. Now, every now and again, you'll see that a bee will come in and fly into the nest. I'm hoping that it happens. There we go. There's a bee coming in. 2 bees, in actual fact, came in. Now, for me, these little creatures are a lot more dangerous than that African male lion that you with Brent. And that's because I'm quite allergic to these little creatures. But it doesn't make them any less fascinating. They've got a fearsome reputation, the African honeybee, for attacking sort of without provocation. But I haven't really found that in my own experience, to be honest with you. They tend to be quite placid unless you go and dig into their store of honey, which is, of course, a big delicacy for everyone living out here, including the local people that have been living here for thousands of years. Now, what they would have done is followed a bird called a honey guide. And that is exactly what I did to find this nest. It happened a couple of months ago. A honey guide, or the greater honey guide, led me with a series of chirping calls all the way to this tree and to that nest. And I'm quite glad to see that the honey guide hasn't shown anyone else where this nest is, in particular the honey badger, which would have come in and tried to excavate that honey. Now, the tree that it's in is a silver cluster leaf tree, which is near impervious to being opened by anything except the most determined predator. And I'm sure that this bee colony is going to be here for months to come. Now, I don't know if you just noticed, there was a bee that came in there with bright yellow back legs. That little bee had pollen sacs that were full. They swim around in flowers and they collect pollen that is then stored in sacs on their back legs. Now, just before I go into what they do with the pollen and how honey is made, we are coming to you live from the African bush. The bush is incredibly thick at the moment because it is summer, and every now and again we get a tree or a shrub in the way. So from time to time during this bushwalk, the picture might get a little bit fuzzy. Don't worry, don't go anywhere. We just have to move a little bit and it fixes itself. Now, back to how honey is made. So pollen is stored in the back legs of these little honeybees. They then go into their nest. They have little wax cubicles, basically the comb that they put water and a mixture of saliva and the pollen in, and gradually the water and this mixture, or the water evaporates and the mixture ferments, and it starts to concentrate into what eventually turns into honey. And that is what they basically feed their babies with, and humans and everything else out here as well. All right, on that, we're going to carry on. We are looking for elephant today. So that is my mission today, and we come into a part of the reserve that I haven't been into for ages, literally a couple of months since the last time I found this this beehive. So it's going to be about as much of an adventure for me as it is for you. All right, we're off to James. He's got another type of bee to show you in his tent.
As I was saying, golden slices of sunshine coming in through the window here. Stef, very brave, of course. He is deeply allergic to the African honeybee. Now, I have something underneath the microscope. It's a giraffe. Can you see how big it looks? Now, inside the giraffe, of course, we have got a strange nest. Now, I'm going to ask you to tell me what you think this is. Hashtag Safari Live. Tell me what you think made this bizarre-looking nest. And with any luck, well, the owners will actually come out. I'm just going to focus down into the bottom of this tube, and hopefully they will pop out at some stage. I'll show it to you a little bit later and then explain to you what's going on in here. So hashtag Safari Live. Tell me what you think is living in my old friend Gerald the giraffe. And of course, it's very nice for Gerald the giraffe that he is still a functional part of the wilderness out here. He died some time back, but still he manages to contribute to the wild. Well done, Gerald. Good. Now, last week we had obviously a great time with the Hosana and Xongile. And you've met Hosana again this morning. But they weren't just lying about this week. Take a look at what they got up to. Hosana, the little prince, learned a bit about hunting. Here he seems to have caught a fearsome water monitor lizard. Looks a bit like a crocodile, but isn't. His manners leave a huge amount to be desired, and he's refused to share it with his mother or his sister. He carried it across the road there, you can see, dropped it underneath a tree, and lost interest. His sister then took over, Xongile that is, and she chose to practice her hoisting skills. Now that's a crucial ability for her adult life, which will save her kills from scavengers. But clearly she's got a little bit to learn, and rather like her brother, she found the reptile distasteful. But then, later that day, the ever-resourceful Karula killed an enormous impala ram. It was a bit too large for her to pull into a tree, so the family fed on the ground, alternating between bouts of gorging themselves and resting in the shade. Luckily for them, flies were the only scavengers that came to share the meal, and the ram kept Karula, Hosana, and Xongile thoroughly satiated and happy for the next 3 days. That, everybody, is the most quintessential African leopard shot you'll ever get in your life. Just beautiful, and hopefully we'll have a repeat of it sometime soon. Let's go and find out if Hosana is ready to pose again with Jamie.
So now that you have seen exactly what our royal family got up to during the week, you are back live on the vehicle with the cub concerned. The little Hosana, who shows absolutely no sign of moving whatsoever. He seems to have decided that this is the most comfortable spot he could possibly be in, and that is where he wants to stay, which I have to confess, I am completely surprised by, because in my experience with Hosana, he tends to be ravenous all of the time, as all teenage growing boys must be. And he seems to be quite relaxed. I don't know why it is that he hasn't fed off the impala. Perhaps he managed to catch himself something to eat earlier. As you saw in that clip, already the cubs are at the point where they're not quite self-sufficient, but they are at this point able to hunt for themselves. They do catch small things, little meals, to help to keep them sustained whilst mom is out and away hunting. Luckily for Hosana and his sister Xongile, their mother Karula is a most extraordinary huntress and has always provided for them in the most amazing way. Now, the exciting news is that I have heard a report that there is a leopard running along the southern boundary of Djuma. That is probably Karula on her way back. It could also be his sister, of course. Either way, I think we're going to see this family reunion very soon. But while we wait for them to arrive, don't forget this is live, so you can actually ask any questions that you want to ask, and you can do that using the hashtag #SafariLive on Twitter. We've got this impala kill over here that hasn't been fed upon at all, and little Hosana comfortably in his tree. And while we have a brief look at the impala, luckily relatively screened from our view, so we don't have to worry too much about the gory details, Nathan, welcome to our live safari. Nathan, you wanted to know how fresh that kill is. Well, Nathan, as it happens, one of the guides that works for Safari Live, Taylor, she actually saw Karula make that kill last night. So it is very, very fresh indeed. And only a little bit has been eaten. Karula's eaten a little bit of the rump. Apparently, she was starving after she killed it. Oh, hello. Are you up? Are you up? No? No, I'm just some spots hidden behind the leaves, and I'm not going anywhere. Perhaps showing a teenage boy's tendency to have a little bit of a lion this time of the morning. We can't even see your... we almost saw your beautiful face, mister. He's extraordinarily big, this little cub. This not-so-little cub. He's actually nearly the size of his mom. And he's already showing signs of developing that massive thick neck and broad shoulders that he will have as he grows older and becomes more dominant in this area. While Hosana snoozes as a patch of spots, giving us a perfect demonstration of his amazing camouflage. Mandy, thank you for sending through your question, and I hope you are enjoying this live safari. Mandy, you want to know how often leopards need to eat. They usually eat roughly once every 2 to 3 days, depending on the... Hey, there we are. There we go. Hello, little boy. Oh, look at those droopy eyelids. Definitely having a lazy morning compared to last week when you were dashing about like a goof. Yes. Sorry, Mandy. The answer to your question is they eat roughly every 2 to 3 days, but it does depend upon the size of the meal. They can go for several days without managing to catch something, or perhaps falling foul of local hyenas that will steal their kill. So it's always very, very circumstantial as to how often they eat, but it's usually every 2 to 3 days, especially for these little guys, since they have such an incredibly effective mum who manages to keep them so well fed. Oh, isn't he adorable? He's still cute, even though he's nearly a year old and he's lost that fuzziness that he had when we watched him when he was 2 months old. He's still utterly adorable. And it's been such a pleasure watching these cubs grow up and getting to see them develop their individual personalities. I think Hosana's got a little bit of goofiness about him, as he should. He goes swimming every now and again, which is very unusual for a leopard. You saw him last week with Brent climb into the pond and paddle about in the mud. And his sister Xongile, slightly more reserved, very graceful, with a very, very, I think, quite a determined streak to her. And I look forward to you getting to know each and every one of these leopard characters. While we sit with our gorgeous leopard, Laurie, you want to know why is the leopard not feeding on the carcass now? I honestly don't know. I have absolutely no idea why it is that Hosana is not feeding on that carcass. I think he might be full. Perhaps he feels a little bit insecure and he wants to stay in the tree. I'm really not sure. All I know is that at any moment now, his mom and his sister are going to return to us. So please don't go anywhere. Brent's with the lions. We've got this leopard, and we will see you shortly after the break. And for those of you, of course, watching on the internet, you don't miss a moment of, I was going to say action. Not quite sure it's action. But you're not going to miss a moment of the leopard. There was a black-bellied bustard calling earlier, but he's, oh, there, I think I can still see him. Oh, well done, Viam. There he is on the left there. There he is. My favourite. The most entertaining of all of the, well, not the most entertaining, but definitely one of the most entertaining birds that we get out here. Call for us quickly, please. Yes, no? You've been doing it all morning. Oh, it's almost like he knows the attention's on him now. Stopping to make sure all of his feathers are aligned in preparation for a TV appearance. One more call. Oh, no, just an itchy chin. So for our new viewers, this is a black-bellied bustard, one of the larger bird species that we see out here, and they have a very unique call, and that is what I want to show you. It's like the popping of a champagne cork. But of course, because we've put the camera on him, and because this is live wildlife filming, he's decided not to do it. He's done it for the last hour. There we go, there we go. There we go. Thank you, black-bellied bustard. Right, while we wait for the royal family to make their television appearance, let's head back to Brent and those lions.
Well, they've got up as the sun has peaked over the eastern horizon, and a little bit of greeting going on there between, who's that, Nena and, is that Mfumo or Tino? I think Mfumo. Nice to see the boys all together. It's not often we get to see this many together, so it is always great when we do. And, oh, there we go. I don't think they're going to move too much today. I think they've all shared the buffalo Nena caught yesterday. It's not too far from here, but the Birmingham Boys often will abandon a carcass. Oh, bless you. Okay, we're going to move around so we can have a look at their faces. How are you behind us there, Brian? Okay, let's get round. Here's what we can call a lump of lions with their fat bellies. Happy, Brian? Okay. I said I don't think they're going to move too much this morning. We might go have a look at the carcass just now. And what's left, I think they've abandoned quite a lot of meat there. So who knows, there could be hyena, there could be vultures, or I'm sure they're vultures. Welcome back, everyone, and we're back with the lions of the Birmingham Boys. There are 3 of them here, and of course you're on your very own privately guided live African safari. You'll see behind me there is a safari vehicle. There are other people enjoying the sighting with us, but we've got these 3 wonderful big males. They're not being too entertaining at the moment. They're doing what male lions do quite often, and that's snooze. And they're snoozing because they've got bellies full of buffalo. And these boys are actually very successful hunters. There's that big misnomer that the male lions don't do any hunting, but because they maintain such a massive area, around 20,000 acres, they have to do quite a lot of their own hunting. They control 3, oh bless you, I think that was a hairball. And a lion hairball is a vile thing full of bone and blood and rotting meat and of course hair. Now Leslie's wondering why do male lions hang out in packs? Well, Leslie, it's very, very important in this area especially. You normally never find single lions or even 2 lions together. Most of the time we have big male lion coalitions, and there's a very important reason for this. This is one of the highest densities of lions in Africa. So if you're a single male by yourself, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to control a big area and make sure you can mate with lots of females and pass on your genetic material. So quite often, a lot of these coalitions will be related, but not always. Normally, when they're about 2.5 years old, male lions are pushed from the pride and they become what we call dispersal males or nomadic males. And often they will meet up with other nomadic or dispersal males in that time, and they form coalitions. And if you're in a coalition, you're able to control a much larger area. You also may be able to control an area for much longer. So if there's one of you, the chances are you're going to get beaten up and bullied by a group. So when there's a group of you, you can control a bigger area, more females, more rights to mating, and so it makes sense for these lions to join forces. Now, sometimes there are different ages in the coalition. Here we look at they're all about the same age, about 6 years old, or between 6 and 7, I would say now. So this is a male lion's prime. He is at the top of his game here. They don't really have a lot of time at the top, only generally 3 or 4 years, sometimes 5 in a big coalition. Now, the reason for this is they only really sire 1 set of cubs from a pride. Now, and that being so, if they stayed for too long, the females that they've sired, so their daughters, would start becoming to 3-4 years old, coming into estrus, and they'd start mating with them. And so the reason male lions generally don't last too long is so the genetics don't get overcomplicated. Inbreeding in big cats is not nearly as a big issue as it is in human beings, but generally you don't want them to inbreed more than 3 or 4 generations. But out in the wild, the way the animals are pushed, it stops that inbreeding altogether. Oh, this lovely light filtering through the clouds. Now, Jim is wondering where these lions have recently fed. Indeed, they have, and that's probably why they're so lazy, Jim. So a big male lion with a full belly will often sleep around 20 hours a day. They killed a buffalo yesterday, and I'm not sure how much meat they left there, but we'll go have a look, because I don't think these lions are going to move too far. So sometime during the next couple of hours, we're going to go and check on that buffalo carcass. Now, we're going to sit here for a little bit longer, make sure these lions don't get up to anything while we do that. And we're going to go from the biggest and one of the smelliest animals in the African bush to one of the most delicately and lightly scaled animals in the African bush with Stef.
You know, sometimes it helps to get down to that lion level that those big cats that you're with are at, and you'd be amazed at what you can see. This here is a butterfly that is busy resting here. It rested here last night. Butterflies are daytime creatures rather than their moth counterparts, which are more nocturnal. And this particular butterfly is hanging on this piece of grass, but orientated very specifically east-west. And that's important because the sunlight and the ambient temperature of the environment are what make butterflies so active during the day. And this butterfly would need the large surface areas of her wings pointed at the rising sun, which is opposite me, obviously behind you at the moment, is where the sun is coming up. This butterfly specifically orientated herself like this last night, catching the last of the rays of the sun setting in the west, keeping her body nice and warm, and so that she can also then catch the first rays of the sun in the east. Butterflies are most active during the heat of the day. This particular butterfly will only start to really get active at around 10 o'clock. And right now, it's not much past 6:30, probably around about there sometime. So she's still got a little bit of this morning hanging around upside down. Now, every little bit of scale on those wings, and they are made up of literally thousands and thousands of tiny scales, are orientated just so that they can collect as much sunlight, like a very, very effective PV panel, like a solar panel that collects the solar rays and turns it into electricity. For us, this particular little creature collects solar rays and turns it into heat so that she can flit around as fast as she can, staying and avoiding birds, going from flower to flower. Isn't that awesome? Very, very pretty. I hear that Mr. Henry is rolling around in the grass, enjoying himself immensely. So enjoy whatever he's doing.
I am rolling around in the grass, but I'm setting up a piece of demonstration. Now, my name is James Henry, in case you're wondering, and we have some answers to my astonishing microscope quiz. Sarah, Stacy, and Stephanie, you said alternately keratin, wasp, or ants. I'm afraid it wasn't any of those things. What it was the opening tunnel to a stingless bee's nest that has been made inside some sort of cavity in that giraffe's skull. Now, we're hoping they're going to arrive. I've just checked now. They haven't come back yet. I think they're probably inside, actually, and warming up. So we put the skull in the sun, and hopefully before the end of the show, they will arrive. Now, you saw Karula. No, you haven't seen Karula. You saw Hosana, and you saw what she killed. Round about dusk last night, she was walking through the bush. And as Jamie was mentioning, they are camouflaged, but in summer, it's not so much camouflage, it's hiding. The bush is very, very thick, and she would have got to within about 2 meters, 7 feet of an impala. That impala is not real, it's dead, everybody. It was killed some time back. Anyway, then what she would have done is exploded forward and grabbed the impala behind the head, tearing it to the floor, wrestling it down onto the ground, where she would have lain and panted, clasping it under the neck until it breathed no more. For a better demonstration of how leopards hunt, take a look at this. The leopard is nature's special forces operative, moving silently and invisibly through the woodland and savanna of Africa. To us, they are the epitome of sublime feline magnificence. To their prey, they are the soundless, unseen, but ever-threatening presence of death. The leopard's method is a patient, secret stalk, followed by an explosive pounce, and then a lethal throat hold. Once dinner is dead, it must be secured from thieves. A pantry in a tree is an excellent solution.
Look at that incredible strength. Oh, he nearly fell over. Look how high he's taken it. Absolutely incredible.
But the wilderness has produced some persistent and ingenious villains. Because leopards are solitary hunters, they cannot afford to take physical risks, despite their often superior strength and speed. The scavengers know this. But time has not only blessed the leopard with ruthless grace and power. Patience is a virtue leopards possess in abundance. With their poise and style, leopards must surely be the most elegant yet lethal of nature's hunters.
And what perfect timing, because look who has just arrived. You are back again with the live vehicle with not one, not two, but three gorgeous leopards reunited once again. And for the very first time on this live safari series, we can finally show you the dynamics between Karula and her two gorgeous cubs. Now, you've just watched what impressive hunters leopards truly are, and Karula is one of the best in the business. She's managed to catch the impala, and no rest for weary mothers. She then had to go and fetch one cub, and then she couldn't find the other one, so she had to go and look for her daughter, and she's finally managed to gather the two together. And she's currently giving her little son a thorough cleaning. What are you looking at? Ah, that's what you are looking at. A dove in a nest. I wondered what had caught the attention of that little cub. I don't think so, little cubs. I don't think you should try and get all the way up there to try and get that dove, but I think he's going to. He's still looking. Ooh. This is why we love watching young leopards, as they do all kinds of interesting and exciting things as they start to learn about their new world and as they start to explore and show all of that curiosity. Our mom has been gone for nearly 2 days, and Dawson, you wanted to know how far a leopard will go for a kill. They can walk for miles and miles, Dawson. Oh, cute. Oh, she's sort of happy to see him, and sort of not. Affectionate clean, and then the odd snarl and growl, although I'd also be a little bit irritable if my large son slammed himself into me. Hello, Karula. Well done. Sorry, Dawson. Leopards can walk very far indeed, so they can cover many miles. Karula's walked basically the length and breadth of her territory yesterday. We tracked her all the way to the northern boundary, then she went all along the eastern boundary of her territory, and that is where she managed to catch this impala. Then she had to walk almost 2 miles back to where she'd left her cubs. So she's had a really hard 2 days. No wonder she was so hungry yesterday. She's had to work very, very hard in order to provide for these two growing cubs. If you have just joined us, and perhaps you are new to this safari series, just a quick introduction to the leopards that you're seeing. They are known as the royal family of Djuma, and the two cubs are just shy of their 1-year birthday, which will be on the 2nd of February. So they are nearly a year old. One male, one female. The little female you can see in front of Karula, and that is Karula, their mother. Nearly 13 years old, and what an extraordinary leopard she is. I love watching the dynamics between the three of them. There's the put-upon mom, the beautiful queen responsible for the upbringing of 8 leopards to adulthood, and with 2 more on the way. So she really has done the most extraordinary job in terms of mothering. And over the last 1.5 years, I've had the pleasure of getting to know her and see her techniques. And now she's hungry and she is on her way to the kill. And this is the joy of these live safaris, is that all kinds of exciting things happen, and we're about to see them go and feed. There she is, she's going right past the vehicle. And of course, Karula's so comfortable with the presence of our vehicle, and because she's so comfortable, her cubs are as well. There she goes, on her way towards the kill. She is starving. She's going to go and munch on her breakfast. Oh, the question is whether or not her 2 little cubs are going to follow suit. Oh, here comes little Xongile. I love Xongile. She comes right next to the vehicle. The beautiful one, slim and slender, and very graceful, just like her mom, trotting off after her on her way to breakfast. And as you can see, the joys of the live safari is that the unexpected is always around the next corner. So definitely don't go anywhere. We're going to be taking a short break, but I have no doubt that I will be seeing you all when we return once again. Okay, right. So for those of you watching on the internet, you don't miss a moment. I need to do some chatting to Aubrey quickly, who has just come and joined us. Hosana is in a bush willow again. You little nut job. You always picks the skinniest branches to climb. You're not as tiny as you were, mister. I think perhaps it's going to take some learning curves to teach you that. You're a little bit heavier than you were when you were just a little bundle of fluff, bouncing around between the branches. Alright, I think what we should do is just go and join Karula and Xongile while they feed. I'm certain he's going to come along and join them as well. It was amazing listening to the approach of Karula. You could hear the alarm calls, the squirrels and the testiculars. Everything sort of let us know in sections as she made her way into the sighting. And back to her son. Whoopsie, I nearly reversed VM into a tree. I did reverse VM into a tree. And hooked the car on the knobthorn. Right, which way is going to be best for us? Let's try and get ourselves in here and get a good view of what they're up to. Here we go. Where's Xongile gone now? Karula's feeding. Where did Xongile go? The grass is so long now that if Xongile lies down, she disappears. Well done, girl. Yes, you should have some well-deserved breakfast first. You've done all of the hard work recently. She's managed to catch a full-grown impala ram, which is good news for her, provided she can try and get it up into a tree. Plenty of food for the three of them. Definitely far better than a dacre. She's got a... What is that blood on the back of her neck? Is that just a pop tick? Or did she hurt herself? Let's see. Looks like she might actually have injured herself when she was catching that... Maybe when she was catching that impala. I'm not sure. It doesn't look too serious, though. But yes, good news is that there's plenty of food. Bad news is that there aren't really many trees for her to hoist it into. I'm not sure what she's going to decide to do, or if she's going to manage to keep it. And hopefully between the three of them they can get as much as possible out of that carcass. Look at that. Instinctively burying the stomach contents, covering it up, making sure that the scent doesn't carry too far and attract hyenas. Where on earth did Xongile go? Trying to get an idea of where all three leopards are, and they've managed to pull disappearing acts. Oh well, at least we've got the queen. And I'm sure the other two will show up in a moment. I had this image in my head of Karula walking Xongile back to the kill, giving her a very stern talking to about not staying put and disappearing, and making her go and look for her. Just having had the conversation myself in the past when I was a teenager, I could just imagine the words exchanged. Alright, we're going to sit with the royal family, see what they get up to. Meantime, let's head back to James in the tent.
I couldn't talk to you because the sound wasn't up. Hello everyone on the internet, the old faithfuls. It's wonderful to be talking to you here. You know, much stress involved in the television. We're just setting up our next show, which is a preview for you, of course. We're going to be playing the game Two Truths and One Lie. Okay, David, does that work for you? And we'll come fact 1, lie 1, lie 2, and lie 3. Okay, there we are, everybody. I hope that you approve of David's shot selection, my personal positioning, coffee cup with my name on it. And of course, for some of you, you'll recognize where that comes from, won't you? Naughty, naughty. 30 seconds, everybody. I'm going to come from the side, mobile, into the shot. That's right, David? David, director of photography, director. Seconds, everybody. Welcome back, everybody, to your live safari from the Greater Limpopo Transfrontier Park, part of which is the Great Kruger National Park. My name is James Hendry, and you are on a live safari, the fourth of 8 of them. Jamie is with the royal family of leopards, Brent is with some very sleepy lions, and Stef is knocking about on foot. Now, we're going to play a game called Two Truths and One Lie. Most of you will have played this before. The way you answer the question is to hashtag Safari Live, lie 1, lie 2, or lie 3. Okay, lie 1, lie 2, or lie 3. And the quiz today, or the game today, is about the dangers of Safari Live. Are you ready, David? Yes, sir. Here we go. Lie 1. Coffee cannot be drunk in the camp because the smell of it attracts scorpions. Lie 2. More people are bitten by snakes in Africa than they are struck by lightning. Lie 3. The most dangerous animal of Safari Live is the mosquito. There are baboons screaming at us. While we try and just see if we can't see them, hashtag Safari Live, lie 1, lie 2, or lie 3. So those facts again, or those statements again, the baboons are in that tree there. Statement 1, or lie 1, is we cannot drink coffee in the camp because scorpions are attracted by the smell of coffee. And the second one was that lightning strikes more people than snake bite people in Africa. And the last one, the Anopheles mosquito, is the most dangerous animal of Safari Live. Okay, I can't see the baboons. They're feeding on marula trees there, having an enormous fight at them. Okay, it's time now to take to the air. Now there are the lions with Brent. They're lying under a bush, as you can see. Now, lions are extremely good at a few things, but the thing that they are very, very best at in all the world is nothing. They like to sit on the ground doing very little, and that's what they're doing now. Now, we're going to head off towards Brent Leo Smith across this very verdant landscape where we've had lots of rain. In fact, in the last 4 weeks, since you joined us on these live safaris, we've had a huge amount of rain and everything's got greener and thicker. Now, you can probably just see Brent there. I think that's him in the top right-hand side of your screen. Is it? No, it isn't. It might, in fact, be a bush. There he is. There he is now. And he's sitting with something relatively distasteful. Let's go and find out what that distasteful thing is.
Okay, so we are right next to this buffalo carcass that was killed by those lions last night. Unfortunately, not last night, yesterday morning, it's quite fresh, so it doesn't smell too bad, but there's this permeating smell of stomach content, but I don't want to touch the buffalo. It is a little bit rank, but we've been looking here carefully, and there's quite a few different species of carrion flies and blowflies that have come to feed on this carcass. Nothing goes to waste out here. Now, the next little bit is not for the squeamish, so I'm going to warn you ahead of time as I get a little bit closer to this carcass, and the flies are buzzing all around me. If we have a look, there's a line of baby maggots moving from where they've been laid underneath this carcass and moving around all the way, trying to get into the skin here between the meat. Look at that. It's literally like a river going uphill of tiny, tiny little maggots. As I said, not for the faint of heart, but nothing out here ever goes to waste. But I think it's enough time sitting next to a rotting carcass. We've got one more thing to show you here, because as I said, nothing goes to waste out here. And of course, at the moment there are no hyenas here, but that doesn't mean there aren't going to be hyenas a little bit later. The smell of a male lion will keep hyenas at bay. They'll be quite scared Now with lionesses, often it's quite different. They'll take a chance, but not with males. And I think the smell of adult male lions is all around here still. But the vultures have already eaten so much. And look at that. So there's a whole bunch of vultures just sitting on the termite mound next to us. And you can actually, if you look carefully, their crops are really, really full. Now, depending on what type of animal you are, it depends on how long you're going to be able to eat this kill for. And Kathy was wondering how long you're going to be able to eat this kill, or how long it will remain. Poppy, not Kathy. And you can see the crops are full. Patty, sorry about that, Patty. Now, you can see the crops are full. If you're a vulture, you're going to be able to eat this for the next 3 days. It is really, really, they can eat the most rotten, disgusting meat. They've got incredibly powerful bacteria and enzymes in their gut that enables them to eat rotten meat. Now, a lion will also be able to eat this till it is for the next 3 or 4 days, even if it's hot and really, really disgusting. Most animals out here will be able to eat it. The only predators that really don't eat rotting meat are wild dogs and cheetah. Leopard, lion will all eat really rotting meat, and of course hyenas as well. Of course they do prefer fresh meat, but if meat is meat, and a predator must eat. And as you remember, we are in the 8.5 million acre massive wilderness area where the animals are able to live their lives protected and live as they have for many hundreds of thousands of years on the African savanna. Now those vultures are what we call white-backed vultures. When they open up their wings, they've got a wonderful white sort of landing stripe in the middle of their back, but they are so full at the moment they can't even take another bite of a buffalo. And you can see even a vulture has to continuously preen its feathers. And it's very, very important for the vultures to preen their feathers because they are very heavy birds and they don't like flapping when they fly. So what they do is they try to catch the wind thermals, but to catch and ride those thermals with using the least amount of energy, they need to make sure all their feathers are in order. So they do spend a lot of time picking and preening at their feathers, making sure they're in immaculate condition. Now, isn't this incredible? There's so much out here in the African bush, and we can't wait to show you even more, but I cannot keep you away from Jamie and those gorgeous leopards any longer.
Gorgeous indeed, and I hear that Brent has potentially been turning some stomachs with his closer examination of that buffalo carcass. Well, I'm afraid we're moving from one carcass to another, and Xongile is having a marvelous time enjoying her breakfast. My name is Jamie, and you are on a live safari from the Greater Kruger National Park area of South Africa, where we're sitting with this amazing family of leopards. We've been waiting all morning to see the mother and daughter return to the sun and finally have a chance to finish off that impala that Karula managed to catch yesterday evening. Look at her tucking in. Now, while we watch Xongile, the princess, enjoying her breakfast, Kelsey, lovely to hear from you. You want to know, does each leopard have a preferred type of prey? To a degree, yes, although they're opportunists and there are no rules out here. So if they see something that they want to hunt and they can hunt, they'll take that opportunity. Generally, you'll find that it is sort of determined by size of the leopard. So it's the prey that they can take, the largest prey that Karula could take is usually something like this adult impala. However, there are leopards that do specialize. Tingana, for example, the father or potential father of Hosana and Xongile and the dominant male leopard of this area, he apparently seems to have a appetite for warthogs. Warthogs and aardvarks, so I've heard. And on multiple occasions, we've actually seen him go underground into warthog burrows and come out with warthog piglets. So that's one of his sort of preferred sources of prey. And you'll find that different leopards specialize in different things. But As I said, there are no rules out here, and these cats definitely don't read the textbooks, so they do what they want, and they are constantly surprising even us. And we've spent years and years out here getting to know individual animals, and they still manage to surprise us on a constant basis. Xongile tucking in, using that carnassial shear at the back of her jaw, those incredibly sharp molar teeth to slice through. Now, she's been eating meat since she was 3 months old, and I will never forget the first time I ever saw Xongile. It was the most extraordinary moment. We were sitting with Karula, who'd made an impala kill just like this one, and the cubs must have been 2 months old at the time, so they'd just been introduced to meat. And we weren't sure, we thought they were there, but we weren't sure if we were going to see them, and we were just about to leave when Karula started giving that contact call that a female leopard gives, sort of a ow, ow call. And we sat quietly and we waited, and of course they were so shy when they were so small. And then out of the long grass came these tiny little creatures, no longer than my forearm. And they sort of slunk through the grass and went up to Karula, and then Xongile turned around and looked straight at me. And I'll never forget that moment with those gorgeous brown eyes of her. While Xongile tucks in, it sounds as though James is seeing some of their worst enemies.
Their worst enemies, and they're just coming out of the tree. We heard one of the males going, "Bow! Bow!" There, you can hear them screaming now. Now, this is a troop of baboons. Dave, come over here. They're running on the ground here. This is a troop of baboons called the Djuma troop, and they've started to spend more and more time around us over here. There they are with some impala, knocking about there, and they hang around with impala all the time. And we've been watching them with quite a lot of interest over the last week or so. So take a look at this clip of what they got up to just outside our back door. Now there they are. You can see them wandering across the landscape, picking up fruits and shoots. And they're really very human, you see. This toddler cannot but put everything it finds into its mouth. There it goes, running along, looking for fruits, and this one riding pinion as they travel to the next crop of shoots. And, well, you know, mum's got to socialise a bit, and little one finds that a bit boring from time to time. The troop's hanging around with the impala herd because of the extra eyes and the ears that they offer in a constant search for danger, normally, as Jamie was saying, lions or leopards. Then the impala rams seem to be gearing up for the rut with some semi-playful horn-butting banter, but it's all just practice for later in the year, around about May. The main source of delight, of course, is the sweet vitamin C saturated marula fruits on the ground and in the trees. These ones are running away because Brian and I were walking towards them. Now, can you imagine, right under the tree you've just seen them in, watching the sunset with a pile of sweet fruit and a date? That's the best possible way to while away an afternoon here in the Lowveld. So that's this wonderful troop of baboons, and they are such amazing characters. We love spending time around them. Shane, you're wondering about the danger posed by baboons. Shane, look, they're in parts of Africa where they've been fed by people, then they can become dangerous. Just about every single animal out here, of course, is threatened by human beings, and I never ever term an animal dangerous. An animal is potentially dangerous. An animal becomes potentially dangerous when it feels threatened enough. It's exactly like you. So if you are cornered, perhaps, say you're cornered in a situation by things that threaten you, say you're cornered by criminals, you're eventually going to turn around and fight. And that is when an animal becomes dangerous, when it is threatened and it feels like you are attacking it. And of course, because they see us as predators, then you can see how they would react like that if they feel cornered. So these baboons, not dangerous in the slightest. Let's head across to Stef, who's got the least dangerous thing in all the world.
That is an understatement if I've ever heard one. This fantastic looking flower that you're having a look at over here is aptly named the Gloriosa superba, the super glory flower, or as we like to call it out here commonly, the flame lily. and is one of the most toxic plants that we have out here. This plant is so toxic, in fact, that I won't even touch it. I won't put it in my mouth, I won't rub it in my fingers, and I definitely won't pick the flower whatsoever. This plant has the ability of stopping your heart very, very quickly with the toxins that it contains in it. But, you know, you've seen quite a lot of things eating today, and I just thought that with this toxic flower that looks so awesome, what could I show you that I found around this particular flower that you could put in your mouth? And I have a selection. This lovely blackjack doesn't look like you could eat it whatsoever. Definitely doesn't look as pretty as the flame lily does, and yet its leaves are highly nutritious. You can pick its leaves just like this and pop them in your mouth, and they are a very peppery rocket type flavor. Next is, we are getting a little bit of picture breakup, I'm told. It's just because we are right up close to this tree. Don't go anywhere. That pretty flower, which is almost as pretty as the flame lily, is the blue commelina, and this you can also eat. Doesn't quite taste the same as the rocket. It's got a very sweet taste to it. It's because it's got a nice sap in it. This is the seed pod of a cleome, and if we open up the seed pod like that, you'll see it's got some round seeds in it. These seeds taste exactly the same as hot English mustard. So I'm having a little bit of mustard on my breakfast of salad this morning. And then, just because no breakfast would be good without some oats of some sort, this is the Panicum maximum, and these seeds contain a lot of very good yumminess, the same as what any of the grainy seeds that we have going. So a mustardy, quite good. Yeah. Linto, while I'm finishing my breakfast, you've asked what is the most noticeable plants in this particular area. This particular bush that we have over here is basically dominated by 3 species of trees. I would say by marulas, by knobthorns, which are acacias, and then by combretums. So this is a combretum woodland with knobthorn and marula. That is how we describe this particular woodland where we live in at the moment. In actual fact, this tree that I'm sitting under, this is a combretum, one of the most common of the trees that we have around here. I must say that this mustardy oats, sweet peppery breakfast that I'm busy having at the moment is turning into something quite nice. And then to end it off, I'm chewing on the roots of this Waltheria plant, and this is a general tonic just to make you feel good in case I've swallowed something bad along the way. Quite medicinal. Alright, and while I carry on chewing on my medicine root, why don't you go back to Brent with those awesome lions?
Well, maybe I should get some of that medicine root after playing around near a semi-rotting buffalo carcass. As you can see, we're back with the wonderful Birmingham Boys. My name is Brent Leo Smith, and you're on a live African safari. And, well, you can see there's 2 massive male lions weighing around 400 pounds just over my left shoulder. So there's another male lion lying behind us. As I said, I don't think they're going to get up to too much, but you never know. Because it's live, you've got to come check it out. Another lion might wander in, a buffalo might wander in, they might get chased by an elephant. So it always pays to play the patience game out in the African bush. Now, while they're lying so close to us, it does give us a unique opportunity to have a look at their faces in quite some detail. And if we have a look at all the scars, so there's Tinyo, the tooth, and you can actually see that wound where he's got the split lip that gave him his name, and that has taken a long time to heal. And that quite often happens with lions because they are constantly in the wars, and they are the biggest, baddest guys in the area. So if any other males happen to wander in, they would see them off. But they also spend a lot of time fighting amongst each other for the right to mate with females. Now you can see his nose. Now, there's a lot of different theories about how to age a lion, and when he's got a pink nose, he's supposed to be under 6 years old, and when he's got a fully black nose, he's supposed to be over. But in my experience, it all just depends on the lion. You can see he's got a dappled nose, and he's breathing quite heavily, and that's quite common if he's got a nice big belly full of buffalo as he's digesting. Now, as you can see, as he slumbers so effectively, Victoria, who's 10 years old, welcome on the safari, Victoria, is wondering, how long do lions sleep normally? Now, Victoria, on average, they probably sleep for about 20 hours a day. So if you like napping, you definitely want to be a lion. Now, the reason they sleep for so long is that they do have trouble getting rid of heat. And that's also why they're mostly nocturnal, and they move around when it's cool and in the night, in the early morning and late afternoon.